Hello everyone, Fred here. This installment of TPP Dynamite is going to be rather different from the ones I usually make because this video is my first official one as part of AuthorTube. For anyone who doesn't know, AuthorTube is basically a community of authors who also make YouTube videos about their books or generally about writing. It was founded by an author and YouTuber named Lily Mead, but another YouTuber and author named Jenna Streety started sort of a ritual for authors who join AuthorTube where they're supposed to do a so-called newbie tag, an introductory video in which they answer a series of icebreaker questions about their writing/YouTubing processes. This of course isn't my first YouTube video, but it is the first of what I hope will be many writing related videos, which is why I'm choosing this one to do the newbie tag. There are apparently two versions of the newbie tag question set, an original one and an updated one that I believe is mainly for more established AuthorTubers. I'm not very established naturally, so I'm doing the original old school one for now, and maybe once I've gotten a bit more mileage, I'll circle back and complete the updated one also. Anyway, question 1. How did you find out about AuthorTube? I have no idea. None. As a writer, I'm always studying and looking for ways to improve at what I do. That includes reading tons of books about writing, reading books by accomplished writers whose greatness I'd like to emulate, and even watching instructional YouTube videos about the writing processes. Somewhere along the way, I learned about AuthorTube, but I didn't decide to get involved myself until really just a few days ago before I made this video. 2. In what genres do you write? Broadly, I write in both the fiction and non-fiction genres, but within the broad fiction category, I write mystery fiction, science fiction, and horror fiction. 3. What is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? Children's, YA, NA, adult, etc. For writing tense, I tend to prefer present because I feel like it has a greater sense of immediacy, like the reader is right there in the action with whichever character is on the page. That's not to say I always write in present tense. In fact, I've even released 3 books that are all in past tense. For point of view, I tend to prefer first person, though again, I don't always practice what I preach there. My 3 released books are all in third person, which is a point of view that I still enjoy, though just not as much as first person. For category of story, I prefer both YA and adult. Each of my 3 released books falls into one of those categories. The Women in White and The Lethal List are both YA, while Textbook Murder is adult. I don't really have a favorite between those 2 categories. There are themes and storylines that I enjoy writing, but that can really be better explored in YA than in adult. And then there are themes and storylines that I enjoy writing, but that really can be better explored in adult than in YA. So thank goodness I have freedom to do both. 4. Are you a plotter, pantser, or plantser? Meh. In strictest terms, I'm a plantser, though one who leans about 95% in the plotter direction and 5% in the pantser direction. I always make very detailed plot synopses and, character outlines of the stories and the characters that I write before I start. I have very detailed plots usually that are written down in points. But when I do begin writing novels, I let the characters and stories speak to me enough that I can change my plans if the situation calls for it, if the characters or stories would be made stronger by it. And that's a decision I would have to make when I got there. 5. Are you self-published, traditionally published, or yet to be published? I'm self-published. I released 3 books, and I personally published each of them for complicated, strategic reasons that it would take too long to explain now. I do, however, have plans to traditionally publish 2 more upcoming books that I'm currently writing and editing. 6. What publishing company, literary agent, and/or printing company represents you? If you're not yet traditionally published, what is your dream publishing house and/or literary agent? First question, I'm self-published, so the answer as of now is non-applicable, Second question, I haven't really considered that one at length. Publishing house, probably HarperCollins. Agent, since we're talking about dreams, I'll go on record and say that my dream agent is maybe Eric Simonoff of William Morris Endeavor. 7. What AuthorTube-related videos can we expect to find on your channel? I'm honestly still figuring that out myself. I plan on posting more about my own writing processes and the books that I have written/am writing. I anticipate trying to have a few other authors and literary agents on my channel to maybe do some interviews regarding their own writing processes, or in the case of agents, how they select clients and go about the publishing journey with said clients. I have a very meticulous and sometimes critical mind, so I foresee possibly posting critique videos about trends and news and affairs in the authoring community. Besides that, I guess we'll all just have to wait and see, you and me both. 8. When did you start writing? When I was around age 10. That's when I got interested in the idea of writing books. It's also when I started on, but did not finish, my first 2 novels. Back then, I was enraptured by the idea of writing books, but didn't have the requisite patience to sit in one place for hours out of a day and actually finish writing or properly editing a book. 9. What was your first story that you ever wrote? I'm not 100% certain that I remember this properly, so don't quote me, but I believe it was one of the 2 books that I started but did not finish at around age 10. It was a YA spy thriller. Unlike now, I was very much into YA spy thrillers back then for some reason. I probably wouldn't write that kind of thing now. It just doesn't tickle my fancy anymore. 10. What authors have inspired your writing the most? Too many to count. I've read so many books by so many authors and become enamored with so many styles that it's hard to nail down even 10 authors whom I found most influential. By now, many of them have kind of just blended together. For the sake of transparency, though, I'll name 5 who come to mind immediately. Anthony Horowitz, Michael Connelly, Karen McManus, James Fry, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. 11. Do you schedule your writing sessions or simply get to writing whenever you can find the time? I usually don't schedule writing sessions, but I also don't usually write whenever I can find time. My times for doing it tend to be arbitrary, but once I sit down to write, I tend not to get up until I've cranked out at least 2,100 words. That's how much I try to write per day. My disclaimer there is, of course, that that's an aspirational standard. There have been days where I haven't met that standard for whatever reason. I'm a busy person, but that's still my aim each time I sit down to write for the day. 12. Do you type on a computer? Do you type on a typewriter? Do you write everything by hand, or do you use a blend of those? And where do you write in general? First question, I write on a computer. I see that as the only sensible way to do it nowadays. It's the only way to make sure your work can be safely backed up in case of emergency. And I'm young enough that I basically grew up with computers as a way of life, so adhering to that standard has never been very hard for me. Second question, I generally write at my kitchen table. That's always been the most comfortable default position. Finally, 13. What are you most looking forward to now that you're a part of AuthorTube? Probably the community. I've had my eye on AuthorTube for a little while now, and I must say I'm looking forward to using it as a platform by which to connect to other avid authors and even readers out there. The anticipation makes me very happy. Okay, so that is my joining AuthorTube officially. I'm really looking forward to what comes next. Please subscribe to my channel, pick up a copy of my 3 books, preferably 2 copies, one for you and one for a friend, and I will see you all next time. So long.